Imagine a world before video games. Was people's mental health better or worse? What did people do for fun? Let's look into all the major eras of time and find out how gaming evolved into what it is today. Before the pixelated adventures and online multiplayer battles, people found joy and entertainment in simpler, yet profoundly impactful ways. Books, for instance, were a primary source of escapism. They allowed readers to immerse themselves in different worlds, much like our favorite RPGs do today. Board games and social gatherings were not just about fun, they were about connection. These activities required face-to-face interaction, fostering social skills, and building strong community bonds. Think about it. How often do we get that same level of personal interaction in our online gaming sessions? Outdoor sports and physical activities were another cornerstone of pre-video game entertainment. These activities not only kept people physically fit, but also taught valuable life skills like teamwork, discipline, and perseverance. Let's take it all the way back to the prehistoric era. Back then, there wasn't much in the way of entertainment, as you can imagine, but people did develop various tabletop games and ancient arcade games played with small stones, beans, seeds, or marbles. This era's people preferred more active forms of recreation, with the Mesoamerican ball game known as Olama Lisli being the favorite among many. This wasn't just your everyday sport, it was played across various cultures, with players showcasing their skills by hitting the ball with their hips, thighs, knees, elbows, and even their heads to score points. Because the main rule of the game forbids players from using their hands or feet to maneuver the ball. The game was enjoyed by many, but it was the elite who played it on official courts, attracting spectators from all walks of life. Some players were so good, they could keep the ball in the air for up to an hour. But the game was much more than a sport. Religion also played a role in the game, with the ball symbolizing the sun's journey between the heavens and the underworld. There's even evidence to suggest that the game was tied to sacrificial rituals. During the ancient era, a time of epic battles such as the Trojan War, a legendary conflict between the Greeks and the Trojans. A variety of board games provided entertainment and strategic challenges across various civilizations. Some games of the time include Senet, an Egyptian board game, and Wari, Mahjong, and chess were also enjoyed, and these games have continued to evolve and are still played today. The game of Ur, an ancient game originating from the city of Ur in modern-day Iraq, was one of the most popular games of this period. Also known as the Game of 20 Squares. It's an ancient board game that was originally discovered during an excavation in the city of Ur in Mesopotamia. This fascinating game has been around for at least 5,000 years, making it one of the oldest board games in the world. What's even more intriguing is that it was a popular game across the entire Mediterranean region for 3,000 of those years. It's the perfect blend of simplicity and strategy. It's easy enough for children to play, but it also has enough complexity to offer a challenge for advanced players. It's a fast-paced game that can be played in just about 10 minutes. What makes it really exciting is that it's always a surprise who will win right up until the final move. The Royal Game of Ur is a race game. Each player has 7 pieces that are placed on the board and moved around until they exit. The first player to get all their pieces off the board wins. The moves are determined by the throw of 4 binary dice. Originally, these dice were pyramid-shaped. It's a lot like Parcheesi, but it's faster, more dynamic, and 4,000 years older. Each game has its own personality. Some are full of constant attacks with pieces repeatedly being knocked off, while others are peaceful races with little interaction. During the classical era, board games were an integral part of daily life. One of the most popular was Go, a strategic board game that originated in China. Its complex nature and depth of strategy made it a favorite among thinkers and scholars. We're not entirely sure who invented Go. It could have been Chinese emperors, or maybe court astrologers. From China, Go made its way to Japan, but again, we're unsure how it happened. The game was first mentioned in Japanese records in the 7th century, and was initially a pastime for aristocrats, warlords, and Buddhist monks. It was only in the early 1600s that it started to catch on with the general population. The Japanese government, led by the Buddhist monk Nikai Hon, played a big role in promoting Go. even setting up 4 major Go schools. This government-backed study of Go made Japan the leading nation in the game. During the medieval era, Europe underwent significant changes due to dramatic events like the Black Death and the Battle of Hastings. Amidst these societal upheavals, various games provided a form of entertainment and relief. Chess, backgammon, drafts, and noughts and crosses were popular board games. Outdoor games included quoits, tug-of-war, and pick-up sticks. Alquerque, though, was by far the favorite game of the time. It's amazing to think that this game, also known as Kirakat in Arabic, made its first documented appearance in the Libro de los Juegos way back in 1283. The game is simple enough to be played on a cloth board, yet it offers depth and complexity. The aim of the game is to capture all your opponent's pieces while keeping yours safe. Players take turns, either moving their pieces along the lines or jumping over their opponent's pieces to capture them. Victory goes to the player who manages to capture all their opponent's pieces. During the early modern era, Europe was embroiled in significant conflicts, notably the 30 Years' War, a devastating event involving most of Europe. In this tumultuous period, people sought relief and entertainment in various games. Mancala started to gain popularity. This ancient board game, believed to have originated in Ethiopia around the 6th century, offered an engaging distraction from the trials of the time. The game's name comes from the Arabic term nakala, meaning to move. Although it spread to the Middle East and Asia, it never became quite as popular as some other board games. Interestingly, the game was brought to the West through the transatlantic slave trade. In the United States, a commercial version of the game was popularized in 1940 by William Julius Champion. During the period of World War I, soldiers in the trenches, away from home, kept up their spirits by engaging in a variety of games. Card games like Brag, Pontoon, and Nap were common, as was a game known as Crown and Anchor, played with a sheet divided into 6 squares, each bearing a different symbol. Bingo, also referred to as Housey Housey, was another preferred pastime. Even in the throes of war, the universal appeal of football wasn't lost. Its easy setup and simple rules made it a popular sport among soldiers. The most popular game, however, was Tiddlywinks, a seemingly simple yet strategic game that involved flipping small discs into a pot using a larger disc. It's a bit like golf, where you aim to reach a target with as few attempts as possible. Back in the days of World War II, kids used to engage in classic games such as hopscotch, rounders, and cricket. They also had a blast playing with marbles in different ball games. Board games like Scrabble, checkers, chess, and dominoes were a big hit among them. But the most popular game during World War II was Monopoly. Back in the late 50s, the video gaming world was just in its infancy. The very first video game, a charming little piece called Tennis for Two, came into existence in October 1958. This game, as simple as it was, simulated a tennis match and was brought to life using an oscilloscope and some clever programming. Fast forward to November 1972, and the first version of the iconic game Pong was birthed. These trailblazing games set the stage for the evolution of video games as we know and love them today. In the early 1970s, arcades became a popular destination for entertainment. A number of notable games surfaced during this period, with the most popular being Space Invaders. Other popular games included Asteroids, Galaxian, Breakout, and Donkey Kong. Back in 1972, the birth of home gaming was marked by the introduction of the first ever video game console, the Magnavox Odyssey. With games like Quest for the Rings, Interplanetary Voyage, Invasion, and Cat and Mouse, the brainchild of Ralph H. Baer, it was Magnavox that turned his vision into reality. With its 2 controllers, 6 game cards, and a power source of 6 C batteries, the idea was simple, yet revolutionary. To bring video games right into our living rooms, the Magnavox Odyssey utilized plastic overlays that adhered to the television screen through static cling. These overlays were designed to create visuals for the games being played. It's hard to explain with words how these overlays work, so here is a bit of the original commercial.
Press the special tennis game overlay into position on the television screen, and you're ready to begin an exciting, fast-paced tennis game. Other sport games include hockey, football, and skiing. For the youngsters in the family, there's cat and mouse, haunted house, and Simon Says. Rounding out your Odyssey game series are such challengers as submarine, roulette, analogic, and geography. Each Odyssey game comes complete with all equipment necessary for play, whether it's one of the 12 standard games or one of several optional games, which include a special shooting gallery, complete with gun and 4 target overlays.
Some of my earliest memories involve playing video games like Mortal Kombat on my dad's SNES and a fantastic Ninja Turtles beat-em-up. As a child, I didn't play video games all the time. I was more into action figures like G.I. Joes and Bionicle. As I grew older, I discovered the joy of riding bikes and BMX, and spent most of my time exploring our trailer park with my cousins. But then, World of Warcraft came out, and I was hooked. I was introduced to the game by my uncle, and I convinced my parents to buy me the game guide book. I spent hours poring over that book, imagining what class I would play, and remember being strangely fascinated by the fact that warlocks could use wands. Once I started playing WoW, my life was radically transformed. While I might not have been getting enough vitamin D, I was building amazing online friendships and immersing myself in the most incredible world I had ever encountered. The game taught me about trust, betrayal, and the importance of managing tasks and schedules. It may sound strange to say that a video game taught me more than real-life experiences, but the skills needed to play these games optimally are valuable. I've seen people transform their love of trading on WoW's auction house into a successful career playing the stock market. However, it's important to acknowledge that there can be downsides to long-term video gaming. Let's explore some of those potential negatives. Kids act out when they have to stop playing video games. This is because their brains are still growing, particularly the part that helps control behavior. Plus, video games flood their brains with feel-good chemicals. Game designers purposely make their games super exciting and rewarding, which makes it tough for kids to restrain themselves. That's why it's important for parents to set clear rules about when and how much their kids can play, and to get help if it starts to become a problem. The constant stimulation from video games can lead to issues like addiction, anxiety, and even depression. The instant gratification we get from gaming can make real-life achievements feel less rewarding. The emergence of gaming platforms like YouTube and Twitch has allowed everyday people to share their talents and entertain the world. But there's a dark side too. Parasocial relationships, where fans feel a one-sided intimacy with influencers. This can lead to harmful situations, especially when influencers manipulate their audiences. The dangers of gaming aren't just physical, they're psychological too, and sometimes the line between what's real and what's not can get pretty fuzzy. But the silver lining might just be that video games could actually make learning more engaging and effective. They provide clear goals and keep you focused, which can really help when you're trying to grasp complex concepts. Video games could even be used as teaching tools, linking learning goals to things students are invested in. A study from 2022 showed playing video games might actually boost cognitive skills, reaction times, and working memory. Playing video games during a lecture actually helps some people concentrate. They use the lecturer's voice as a background score for their game, which caters to their preference for learning by listening. Video games can be used as a tool to unpack complex topics like history, sexism, racism, and corporate culture. The educational potential of online platforms like Twitch are untapped. It can be an effective learning tool, teaching students how to present themselves professionally online through gaming. The key elements of video games, like captivating storylines and the use of artificial intelligence to adjust difficulty levels, can be incorporated in classrooms to enhance online teaching. You need to watch this video about the resurgence of Fallout 76. And remember, seek to learn, not judge.